Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
So welcome again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here and supporting our inquiry community and supporting our Sangha. As I read through my notes for this talk a few minutes ago, I felt a bit like Steve Martin in The Three Amigos. He gives a long, defiant speech to the bandits, and they look very puzzled, and they say, "What do you mean?" And he says, "I don't know." And so I think this talk for me has a little flavour of that. I'm not quite sure what I mean, but let's see what unfolds. So a few weeks ago we had the spring retreat here in the UK, and the title was Blossom Awakening, and it said, "A spring stroll through Dogen's plum blossoms, accompanied along the way by the poetry of wandering monk Seigyo in Blossom Awakening." And it was pointed out to me that I'd put that he was a wandering monk, like he wondered about things, whereas he was a wandering monk in that he wandered around. But I realized that maybe, this wasn't such a mistake, because he did wander around, but at the same time he wondered about things and created beautiful poems, like in Shirakawa, a nightingale sings on a springtime twig, as if listening to what the cherry blossoms say. And it impressed upon me that actually our human condition, or one way of describing it, is that we do wander around in our lives, sometimes far away, sometimes close, and we constantly wonder about things in the way our own particular mind frames our wondering. It's what we do, like the poet Seigyo. So it's a kind of inquiry, I guess, but maybe wondering about things is more expansive, a little bit more less agendaed than an inquiry, maybe. Following the retreat, Trudy and I went on holiday to Cornwall, to stay in a beautiful house overlooking the vastness of St Ives Bay, and it had a windowsill seat looking out to Godrevy Lighthouse, which was the inspiration for the novel To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, which was one of the most pivotal novels of the 20th century. It really changed the way some novelists wrote about experience, and in particular the interiority of their minds. And I spent hours on that seat, immersing myself in rereading the novel and gazing at the view of the lighthouse. And then close by, just up the hill, is Talland House, the childhood summer holiday home of Virginia Woolf. And with much poignance, the garden she describes and the views from it into the lighthouse and in her other writings are about to be obscured by a new building. So that view that Mary and Trudy and I enjoyed a few years ago will disappear. Everything changes. And I gazed at this view for so many hours that it's very much internalized in my memory. So you have the lighthouse out in the bay, 3 or 4 miles away, and about a mile from that, there's another rock over which the waves cascade, and another mile, another rock, and you get a sense of the vastness and the changing nature of the view. It just keeps changing, but the lighthouse is always present. And in my meditation on the lighthouse, I was reminded that in Returning to Silence, Katagiri Roshi writes about Sumi painting, and he says, perhaps you've seen a Sumi painting, tiny boat, fisherman in the boat, ocean, and in the corner, just one tree. And just below our house were a few trees. And he says, from this you can see the huge scale of the world, the rhythm of the universe. And he goes on to share a poem by Ikkyu Zenji. And what is the heart? It is the sound of the pine breeze there in the Sumi painting. So you have the stillness of this Sumi painting, and yet the heart actually sings through it, through the pine breeze. And he says, according to Buddhism, mind is just like the sound of the pine breeze in a Sumi painting. And it's a beautiful image for me of how our thoughts kind of come unbidden. So while I was looking out over St. Ives Bay, my mind is continuously creating these thoughts about it, from somewhere seemingly ineffable, unbidden, like the sound of the pine tree and the breeze through the pine tree in a Sumi painting. So the book itself, the central character is Mrs. Ramsay, and Virginia Woolf describes the internal thoughts of her characters, and this is what she says about Mrs. Ramsay, which I think in a way is a novelist resonating some aspects of our practice and what our minds do. So there's some little pieces that go together from one page. So she's just put the children to bed, and she says, for now she need not think about anybody. She could be herself, by herself, and that was what she often felt the need of, to think. Well, not even to think, to be silent, to be alone. All the being and the doing, expansive, glittering, vocal, evaporated, and one shrunk with a sense of solemnity to being oneself, a wedge-shaped core of darkness, something invisible to others. And then she says, beneath it is all dark, it is all spreading, and it is unfathomably deep. But now and again we rise to the surface, and that is what you see us by. Not as oneself did one find rest ever, in her experience, but as a wedge of darkness. Losing personality, one lost the fret, the hurry, the stir, and there rose to her lips always the same exclamation of triumph over life when things came together in this peace, this rest, this eternity. And for my experience, she kind of speaks to the way I I sometimes think about things. It's like my mind knows this. My mind recognizes this. And it also recognizes something from our practice, and yet she's describing it as someone who isn't a Zen practitioner. Not as oneself did one find rest ever. Not as an individual did one find rest ever in her experience, but as a wedge of darkness. It is all unfathomably deep, but now and again we rise to the surface, and that is what you see us by. So, people have said, how was your holiday? And, you say things about it. And, the cafes you enjoyed, or the food, or the company, and so on. That's the habit, the kind of response you normally do. But I realize, on a much deeper level, you take yourself, you take your mind with you. Or does your mind take you wherever you go? You have an idea of a holiday, and you're just there with your mind. And I realized, one of the things I realized, I came back, I brought my souvenir from the holiday, is the self I have constellated will probably always feel like this familiar person I feel myself to be. And I will always create thoughts in this way. I will always do that, probably. Who knows? But there was some kind of relief about that, having read the book and seen the view. And I think, we call it self-acceptance, acceptance of the self we have constellated. And we all constellate this self we think we are. So if somebody says, how was your holiday? I wouldn't say that in the street. But it's more important than the food. It's something very precious. And I think through practice, we keep having these opportunities wherever we are to have some awakening. So in an essay about Virginia Woolf entitled The Emergent Self, Johann Lehrer writes, "But if the mind is evanescent, then how does the self arise? Why do we feel more than just a collection of disconnected thoughts?" Woolf's revelation was that we emerge from our own fleeting interpretations of the world. Whenever we sense something, we naturally invent a subject for our sensation, a perceiver for our perception. The self is simply the subject. It is the story we tell ourselves about our experiences. If the self didn't exist, then we wouldn't exist, Woolf wrote. We are the words, we are the music, we are the thing itself. When Shinko, who was to become the second ancestor in China, approached Bodhidharma, the first ancestor, he pleaded, "Your disciple's mind is not yet at peace. I beg you, my teacher, please give it peace." So Bodhidharma said, "Bring the mind to me and I will set it at rest." And I think there was some interval, some long time before Shinko came back. And he said, "I have searched for the mind and it is finally unobtainable. I've looked for it, for where these thoughts come from, where these feelings come from." And Bodhidharma replied, "There, I have thoroughly set it at rest for you. I've thoroughly set it at rest for you." And of course he probably hadn't, but he was pointing to something about our experience and our thoughts, which are fleeting and evanescent, and you can't find where they come from. Or can you? Because if you think about what Dogen says, to study the Buddha way is to study the self, which I'm talking about now. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. When actualized by myriad things, your body and mind, as well as the bodies and minds of others, drop away. So here we have the really interesting question of our minds, our thoughts, our feelings, and the possibility that they can drop away, so we do not feel separate, we do not feel the subject and object that we mostly feel from these small minds. There's in the Cohen collection, The Gateless Gate, case 48, a monk said to Kempo Osho, "I still wonder where the road can be." Kempo Osho lifted his staff, drew a line in the ground and said, "Here it is." So it amuses and intrigues me that this is the final koan of the Gateless Gate. There are 47 koans preceding this one, all opportunities to pass through the gateless barrier. And yet, here is somebody at the end of the koan collection saying, "I still don't get it. I still wonder where the road can be." More wondering happening, even after a whole collection of koans. This is us, this is me, I still don't get it. And Master Woman, who compiled the Gateless Gate, offers the following verse in his commentary on the koan. He says, "Before even taking a step, you've already arrived. Before even moving your tongue, you've already spoken. Even if you are able to grasp every opportunity and respond before it occurs, you should know that there is an abyss that lies beyond." So even if you realize all of these things, there is still practice, there is still an abyss beyond. It goes on. Hugo's comment is, "But what kind of question is this? I still wonder where the road can be." This is like asking where the beginning of a circle is. If you're born a human being, you'll die a human being. Please don't ask how to become a human being. You are already one. So there's a kind of almost frustration in his comment. It's like you're still wondering where the road can be. Ram Dass was once asked, "May I be your student?" And he replied, "Yes. Now what?" And the question is, "I still wonder where the road can be." The teacher can say, "Yes, here it is. Now what?" You're still left wondering and wondering. It seems to me the human condition to keep this practice, to keep practicing. So, as a woman says, you should know that there is still an abyss that lies beyond. So, with this talk, where I don't know what I mean, if you feel drawn to rise to the surface, as Virginia Woolf said, to meet and explore these deeply profound issues, please do come forward. Thank you very much. Hello, Sophie.
Hi, Josh. As you were talking, I also looked at Trevor because he's on my screen, and I could see his bright smile all the time. So he really enjoyed your talk, and I was in the same delight. Because not knowing is quite a known place, isn't it? For me, anyway. So, funnily enough, when we were sitting just before you talk, I had to bow to my thoughts because I was thinking, how long have I been thinking, 60 years, and you're still producing things in my head. It's amazing in some ways. I was just like, wow, it's incredible. So I feel really attuned to what you were saying. It's like, yeah, can we bow to whatever is here? You show us the way because that's the only thing we've got anyway, isn't it? So,
Yeah, I'm delighted, to hear about your thoughts. Um, yeah, it feels very resonant that you were thinking that, just before we met.
mm. And it brings to mind what my when my father decided he would exit life. He said something that we put on the card for his death. He said, "I'm really happy to see all my children when we can each have an evening and then have an evening all together. But really, I also want to be with my thoughts because soon I won't have them anymore."
Oh,
And it's been staying with me, and how I think what he was saying was his Zen. It wasn't coming from another place. He was coming about bowing to what he had understood of life, really.
mm. Yeah, something he'd been with for all of his life
Yeah.
and had accompanied him and created his constellation of self, his experience of himself.
Yeah. Also learning the lessons that you can have a bright mind and have all the thoughts that you want, but you won't escape difficulties and things, and so
Mm, mm,
the more he grew old, the more nice he was as a guy. Yeah.
mm. So do you think he was able to kind of make friends with himself, with his thoughts?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm,
Mm,
mm.
mm,
It's very touching to hear you speak about him.
mm.
What was his name?
John. He was Jean. John. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. Mm. It's nice to have him here.
yeah,
He was a little bit American, so it's like I can bow to all the American friends,
yeah,
and a
yeah.
little bit English because he loved Scotland, and he was a wandering guy.
And a little bit Scottish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's really nice to have him here and kind of remembered and
Mm,
yeah.
mm. So right now I feel like it's in some ways acknowledging my mind for what it is and appreciating it. Uh, it kind of calms it down a little bit.
Mm.
But then I'm also thinking, and now, as you were saying, yeah.
Yeah. So are you kind of talking about your relationship with your mind? It's like
Hmm.
actually attending to it has, changed something today.
Well, for the 5 minutes where I did it, yeah,
Hmm.
it did. I don't want to, I don't want to uh, save on that experience, but yeah.
Hmm. Because I'm kind of really curious how I can um, speak from my mind, as though I'm it, and there's something shift if I if I if there's somehow a witness for what's happening, I don't know where that is, but something shifts for me, if I'm warmly curious about it. Mm.
Thank you. Thank you for putting these words on it, on the experience.
Mm. Mm. Isn't it amazing? We're sitting here, miles away from each other, but together, and our, there's a way in which our minds are meeting, and the kind of the wondering is like, oh, what happens in your mind? How is it? What's the feeling tone of our minds as we move through the day?
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Joel.
Hi, Josh. It's a wonderful talk, of course. I'm just reflecting on the what now question, and reflecting that constellations are made up. There's just dots up there, and then we form them into pictures, or there are agreed formations of pictures that we call constellations. And that, what a lovely word choice for what happens with us. So was that a quote from a character of Virginia Woolf saying that the self that I constellate, or was that some other
It's
source?
actually from the Zen teacher Carolyn Atkinson.
Oh, okay.
In A Light in the Mind, and she talks very touchingly about how Pico Iyer, the poet, comes to talk to the Santa Cruz community, and they're all kind of there listening to him, but slowly everyone begins to move towards their homes and towards sleep. And she says something like, the self we have constellated just drifts down and loses its identity as we move towards sleep. And I love that the constellation idea, because it felt very beautiful, actually, for our minds. Respectful for what we create.
I just briefly want to say I appreciate the exploration that you are offering, which is enlivening and shows that, or for me at least, that exploring questions like this, like where do my thoughts come from, etc. That there is energy in that I find engaging and helps me engage with all of my life, there's this part of our minds that it's what do they call it? Default mode network that just generates thoughts. The part of our brain that is a substrate of that's just a sloshing bunch of chemicals and electricity, and generates a sense of self and lots of stories to reinforce that. But there's also this other part, which I felt strongly listening to you and then listening to Sophie, which is a part of the mind which automatically responds to loving presence. Sophie talking about her father, you lovingly invoking the experience of being in Cornwall, and I could really imagine myself in that scene with you, and then there was this substrate of like, I'm so glad I'm being able to listen to Josh right now. That those are at least two aspects of what's going on in the mind all the time, apparently.
Yeah.
So I just want to say I noticed it while you were talking.
Oh, well, I'm really touched by that, and that this kind of connection can happen through our explorations, through our love for each other, and our kind of wonder, about the world and life, and how all these precious moments are moments for inquiry and for connection. That's lovely. And
even though words are so imperfect, right? And just beyond what we can think, there's the abyss, of what we cannot even conceive of.
Yes. Yeah, I guess we hold ourselves in that place, don't we? Because we say life as it is, and we say, here it is, here's the path. I'm sure the monk didn't, wasn't in a sense satisfied, because it just places him in the place of practice, not necessarily realization. So we have to hold, we have the opportunity to hold each other in these places where we go, here it is. Now what? How are we going to do this together?
At least for right now, when I'm asking myself, now what? I'm feeling, I'm feeling connection. I'm feeling the imperative for connection and for being present for other people. Thank you.
And that touches me, and the connection you create through curating inquiry is so much appreciated.
Thank you.
I know you create this for us. You create the schedule, and you nurture it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Josh. I so appreciate your wondering and your wandering. It's just, for me, it's joyful. And in your talk with both Sophie and Joel, I thought of something I hadn't thought about in years, and part of it is related to I volunteer with 4-year-olds. I work with 4-year-olds. And I used to train people to work with young children. And all of a sudden I remembered that a nice kind of fun thing to do with them when they do something, you to say, well, how did you know that? How did you know to do that? And the fancy term for it is metacognition. But I thought, oh, I forgot to do that. I haven't been doing that lately. What a wonderful way to have young children appreciate their minds.
Yes.
And appreciate learning and wondering. And so I just wanted to tell you that thank you for reminding me, because I'll be working with 4-year-olds tomorrow, and I'll see how that works in practice.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
How many do you work with?
There's 17 kids in the class,
Right.
and 13 of them are Spanish speaking.
Mm.
So I didn't take Spanish before, so I do my Duolingo morning and night,
Right.
and it's a wonderful thing. It's a really wonderful thing.
Oh.
So
Oh.
yeah,
And that's such a connecting, following on from speaking with Joel and Sophie, that's a beautiful way of kind of being with others, isn't it? With young
it
children
is. It is.
doing that.
Honestly, it's a calling for me.
Mm,
I have
mm,
to do it. I've done it all my life, either working with kids myself or then, training people to work with kids and getting to visit the centers as I did that, which was the most joyous part of my job.
mm,
And, one day after retiring, I woke up and said, there has to be more than this.
mm,
And so I started volunteering, and I've been doing it for years. And it's really, it's a high point of my days, of my weeks, of my life.
oh,
Yeah. And now I get to ask him that question again, which I had
yeah.
forgotten.
That's such a beautiful question. How do you
It
know
is.
that?
Yeah. How do you know that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
how
wonder about that.
do you know that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I think the 4-year-olds are very fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
Mm,
Thank you.
thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Denise.
Hello, Josh.
Hello.
So I'm really touched by this atmosphere of you that you create with your talk of it's like kindness in the air, humor in the air, yeah, and gentleness.
Mm,
So when I listen to you, I observe, no, first, when we say mind, I have no clue what mind is.
mm,
Sometimes when we say mind, I think everybody thinks of something else when they say mind.
yes.
And if I observe myself when I listen to you, it's like this relationship thing inside and outside. So when I listen to you, it's like the inner popcorn, popping up. It's like maybe a sensation in my body or a string in my heart or a thought. And then I feel more present.
Yeah. Yeah. I really respected that you say, I don't know what mind is. And I think you speak for all of us in that, but what you've spoken to is relationship.
Yes.
What is evoked.
Yeah.
Which is probably what matters, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, if I think of what mind is, then I feel a bit like the old LPs who have a little,
Yeah.
sprung when it goes back to the same da 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 dum trum da da dum trum.
Yeah. I like the
Which
way.
reminds me, we had the LP of Mary Poppins when I was a little girl, and there is this song, I love to laugh, ha 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 ha, and it has always at the same moment it jumped back, and we waited that it jumps back,
Yeah.
and then when it didn't, it was something wrong. So sometimes mind seems to be
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a really beautiful memory, isn't it, of being a child with one of those old records going round. And they pop back and
Yes.
they sing a joyful song. Um, there's something quite profound there about the repetition of something lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's something very I think when we're together in this way, so much is evoked.
Yes. It's like the space permits opening to each
Mm.
other, and
Mm.
yeah, and maybe just to share. I'm working tomorrow with the opposite, with old people,
Mm.
giving them movement sessions.
Okay.
And I love it so much because we giggle a lot
Mm.
and, and a little bit of anatomy and then a little bit of playfulness.
Mm.
And lots of them are people who don't have partners, so I do a bit of massage each. So it's just this being together,
Mm.
using our senses. Yeah, I love this very much to do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I shall take away from today one of the things, or two of the things, is Kathy going to her 4-year-olds, and you going to your elderly people. Both at different parts of their life, needing wonder and connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
And playfulness in all ages.
Playfulness in all ages,
Mm.
and some fun. Yeah, it's important. Important what you offer in that way.
Yeah.
Hmm. Let's continue to be playful.
Yes.
Hmm.
Thank you, Josh.
Lovely to see you, Denise.
You too. Mm.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi. Let's continue to be playful. That's definitely my line. I don't really know what I'm going to say. Good start.
Good start.
I just loved seeing people coming and meeting you, Joshi. And so I wanted to come and join in. And I was, it's always so intriguing, isn't it, to think about your mind and think what is it that's thinking about your mind and what is it that's witnessing and how do you ever be objective about it. Doesn't feel like that's possible. And I was thinking, well, I was just experiencing, I suppose, my thoughts being like, those bubble machines that they have for small children, and they just keep going, and the bubbles keep coming and coming and coming, and And we see them as beautiful, don't we? We see them as just arriving and floating and going wherever they want to go. And I was feeling, oh, if I can be kind to my thoughts and meet them with kindness rather than with I don't know, all of the borrowed ideas that I might have about them.
Yes. I think you're pointing to something really quite beautiful, that, they do come from somewhere. They move through us. Sometimes they repeat themselves, but the kindness seems to me, in a way, Buddha's kindness. It's the internal friend that that doesn't. There's no objectivity. There's just compassion and kindness.
And here-ness.
Yes.
If that's I don't even know if that's a word. They're just here.
They're just here. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's a really beautiful way, I think, to end, because it suggests it's possible for us to have our own inner resources, our own teachers inside who can say, it's okay. You're always going to be pretty much like this, I think.
Until they stop. Like
Until they
Sophie
stop.
was saying, until they stop.
Until they stop. Yeah. Mm.
Well, let's bow to them.
Let's bow.
Thank you, Josh.
Well, thank you, Lynn. Thank you. So we'll now do the closing verses, and almost thinking about the first line, caught in the self-centered dream, but there's a way in which I'd like to kind of think about that today as something maybe not caught, but living from that perspective of those thoughts that we carry with us. So let's do the closing verses anyway, with the awareness of everything we've explored today. So, caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Thank you so much, everybody.